I stand before you not as a man who has conquered every mountain, but as one who has stumbled through many valleys and found his way only because he dared to ask for help. Not the kind of help that comes with a handshake or a dollar bill, but the help that comes from within. A whisper in the mind, a stirring in the soul, an unseen hand that guides the man who believes he is not alone. I hope that you'll find the help that you need, not because it will come knocking at your door, wrapped in certainty, but because you have the courage to seek it. Life at its core is not a solo endeavor. No man ever became great, nor climbed the summit of success without the help of others, visible and invisible. The world may tell you to be self-made, but the truth is this: all greatness is company authored by those who helped us in our weakest hour, whether that help came in the form of a mentor, a message, or a moment of clarity from the infinite. I remember a time when I was lost, both in direction and in hope. I had ambition, yes, but I was missing the blueprint. And in my desperation, I asked not with my mouth, but with my spirit. I asked the universe to show me how to rise, and slowly the answers came. First through books, then through people, and then through failure, because failure, my friends, is help in disguise. You see, when a man reaches out with sincere desire, something marvelous begins to unfold. He becomes tuned like a radio. His mind starts to pick up on the right signals. A passage in a book suddenly leaps out at him. A stranger says something that shifts his entire perspective. Coincidence? No. That is guidance, but none of this will happen until you declare what you want. Definitely, until you decide that your dream is not a wish, but a purpose. When your desire becomes white hot, when it sears your soul with its necessity, then help will rush to meet you. That is how the laws of the universe are written. You may be suffering now. You may be doubting, questioning, wondering if anyone sees your pain. I tell you, you are not forgotten, but you must rise and claim the help that is waiting. Help does not come to the man who waits with folded arms. It comes to the man who knocks, who seeks, who marches forward despite trembling knees. Adversity is not your enemy. It is your awakener. It is the alarm clock of purpose. When life presses you, it is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to reveal you. I say this to every person listening. If you feel broken, shattered, weary, good, that means you are ripe. That means something greater can now emerge, so ask. Ask the infinite. Ask your fellow man. Ask the pages of wisdom that have survived centuries. Ask boldly, and then act as though the answer is already on its way, because it is. Now, I leave you with this truth. You were not made to live in quiet desperation. You were made to rise, and you will, if you open your heart, lift your eyes, and seek the help that has been waiting for you. I hope you find it. Better yet, I believe you will. I want you to understand something vital, perhaps more vital than anything else I could say. You are not alone in your struggle. Every man, regardless of his wealth, position, or public praise, faces a hidden war. He wrestles with doubt in the silence of his own mind. He battles fear in the stillness of the night. He questions his worth, his path, and even the point of carrying on. Now, some may wear fine clothes and carry themselves with a polished grace. But don't be fooled, my friend. Beneath that veneer lies the same current of longing, the same ache for direction, the same cry for help that you feel now. When I began my journey of studying the lives of great men, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, I was astounded to discover this unshakable truth. Every one of them reached a breaking point, a moment when they could go no further alone. They reached out, some in prayer, some in pain, some in desperation, and they received, not always in the way they expected and never without a price, but the help they needed came. You see, needing help is not a weakness. It is the first signal of awakening. It is the soul admitting that it cannot expand within the walls of its own limited perspective. That's where growth begins. That's where transformation is born. You know, the man who says, "I don't need help," is the man who is headed for defeat, not because he is less intelligent or less capable, but because he has shut the door to the very force that could elevate him. Pride builds walls, humility opens gates. And only through those open gates can wisdom and strength flow. It is easy to believe the lie that you must endure it all alone, that your pain is unique, that your confusion is a sign of weakness. But I say unto you, millions have stood where you now stand. Millions have looked to the heavens or buried their face in their hands and uttered the same silent plea, "Is there anyone, anything that can help me?" Yo, and if you'll quiet the noise of fear long enough, there is a strange and powerful truth I must share with you, a truth that defies logic, yet governs all success, all genius, all greatness ever known to man. There are invisible forces at work, guiding those who sincerely seek. Now I do not speak of magic, nor of superstition. I speak of a very real, very deliberate law that governs the mind as surely as gravity governs the body. Just as a compass always points north, the mind, when properly directed, will always point toward solution, toward opportunity, toward help. But only when you seek. You must understand that this universe we live in is not a cold, random mechanism. It is precise, it is intelligent, it listens, responds, and operates on laws that never sleep. There are unseen hands, forces of thought, spirit, and vibration that align themselves with the man who aligns himself with definite purpose and a burning desire to grow. I have sat in rooms with men who shaped industries and built empires, and I can tell you this, every one of them sensed something beyond themselves, a guiding hunch, a flash of intuition, a whisper in their mind that said, "Go this way." They followed it, and that whisper, that invisible guidance, led them to the doors they were seeking. You have felt this force before, haven't you? Perhaps you were at the edge of giving up, and suddenly a message came, a book, a phrase, a person entering your life at just the right moment. You dismissed it as coincidence, but it was not. It was an answer to a question you asked silently but with sincerity. In my own life, I have stood face to face with despair. I have questioned everything, my worth, my mission, even my sanity. But in those moments of darkness, when I humbled myself and reached inward and upward for guidance, something always came, sometimes softly, sometimes painfully, but always exactly what I needed, never a second too late. This force, call it infinite intelligence, call it God, call it the higher self, it does not respond to idle wishes. It responds to focused intent. It responds to the man who steps forward in faith, even if his feet tremble. Because it is not courage that activates this force. It is motion, the motion of the soul toward truth, toward growth, toward a better version of itself. Now listen closely, for this may be the most important idea you ever hear. When you begin to seek help with your whole heart, the help begins to seek you. You draw it like a magnet. You don't need to know how it will come. That is not your job. Your job is to believe that it will. The man who places his trust solely in what he can see, hear, or touch, he limits himself to a fraction of life's potential. But the man who dares to believe in that which cannot yet be seen, he taps into a power that can move mountains. You don't need to see the entire path, only the next step. And when you take it, the path reveals itself. Why? Because the invisible forces only reveal their power to the man who acts in faith. Not blind belief, but active faith. The kind of faith that knocks on doors and makes phone calls and prays with his sleeves rolled up. So I say again, if you are seeking help, help is already being prepared for you. It is real. It is ready. But it waits not for your perfection, but for your permission. Let us now speak of the two greatest forces ever placed in the hands of man, definite desire and faith. These are not vague ideas. They are not mere philosophies to ponder in leisure. No, these are tools, spiritual instruments of precision that, when applied with discipline, can transform the invisible into the visible, the imagined into the real, the impossible into the inevitable. I have seen with my own eyes how men, ordinary in birth but extraordinary in desire, have bent the very fabric of their circumstances through the sheer power of a definite purpose, backed by unwavering faith. Your desire, you see, is the starting point of all achievement, but not any desire will do. A weak wish, a half-hearted hope, a maybe someday thought, these hold no power. The universe does not move for the man who whispers, it moves for the man who declares, the man who says, "This I must have, and nothing shall stop me from acquiring it." Definite desire is a demand made by the soul. It is a fire that consumes all doubt and lights the way forward, even when the path is shrouded in fog. And once that desire becomes definite, once it becomes something more than a fleeting thought and grows into a burning obsession, then, and only then, does the second great force come alive, faith. But let me tell you plainly, faith is not hope. Faith is not a trembling optimism. It is not the kind of faith you speak about on Sunday and forget by Monday. It is certainty. It is the mind's total belief in the unseen, its confident expectation that what is desired will come into form because the laws that govern this world cannot fail. No, a man with definite desire but no faith is like a ship with a destination B. There is a hidden blessing that walks hand in hand with every great trial, though most men are too blind with fear or bitterness to see it. That blessing is adversity. Yes, adversity, painful, unwanted, often misunderstood, is not your enemy. It is your awakener, your teacher, and in many cases your greatest ally in disguise. I must confess there was a time in my life when I cursed adversity. When misfortune struck, I shook my fists and cried out, "Why me?" I believed I was being punished. But what I later discovered, and what I now share with you as a sacred truth, is this: adversity is the doorway through which the soul meets its purpose. Every man I ever studied, from Edison to Rockefeller, had his defining moment wrapped in failure. Their greatest revelations did not arrive during ease or comfort, but in anguish and defeat. When Thomas Edison's factory burned to the ground, he did not mourn. He smiled and said, "Thank God, all our mistakes are burned up. Now we can start anew." That is the mindset of a man who understands the role of adversity. You see, adversity strips you bare. It removes the fluff. It tears down the illusion that you are in control of everything. And once it does, it forces you to confront yourself, to ask, what is left when everything is taken? And that, my friend, is where the treasure lies. In the darkness of loss, you discover strength you didn't know you had. In the silence of betrayal, you learn discernment. In the pain of failure, you learn the precision of effort. These lessons do not arrive in comfort. They are forged in discomfort. And those who understand this rise above the masses. Think of the seed buried beneath the soil. It must first break apart to become the tree. Think of the diamond. It is only coal that has withstood unimaginable pressure. Think of the sword. It is not shaped in calm air, but in fire and hammer blows. And so it is with your character, your destiny, your legacy. They are formed by adversity. There is no growth in stagnation. There is no discovery in routine. When you are shaken, when life knocks you to your knees, it is often because it is trying to elevate you. The blow that breaks one man is the very same blow that awakens another. The difference is not in the force, it is in the mindset. Most men waste their adversity. They fight it, complain about it, or retreat from it, but the wise man uses it. He asks, what is this moment trying to teach me? What strength can I develop here that I could not develop in ease? And he listens, he adapts, he grows. And I urge you, stop seeing hardship as punishment. See it as preparation. Stop asking why you suffer and start asking how this suffering is refining you. Because buried within every difficulty is the spark of a greater self, a version of you that only pain could reveal. If you are going through adversity now, do not despair. Do not rush to escape it. Sit with it, study it, use it, because it may very well be the furnace in which your future is being forged. There is a hidden blessing that walks hand in hand with every great trial, though most men are too blind with fear or bitterness to see it. That blessing is adversity. Yes, adversity, painful, unwanted, often misunderstood, is not your enemy. It is your awakener, your teacher, and in many cases, your greatest ally in disguise. I must confess, there was a time in my life when I cursed adversity. When misfortune struck, I shook my fists and cried out, "Why me?" I believed I was being punished. But what I later discovered, and what I now share with you as a sacred truth, is this: adversity is the doorway through which the soul meets its purpose. Every man I ever studied, from Edison to Rockefeller, had his defining moment wrapped in failure. Their greatest revelations did not arrive during ease or comfort, but in anguish and defeat. When Thomas Edison's factory burned to the ground, he did not mourn. He smiled and said, "Thank God, all our mistakes are burned up. Now we can start anew." That is the mindset of a man who understands the role of adversity. You see, adversity strips you bare. It removes the fluff. It tears down the illusion that you are in control of everything. And once it does, it forces you to confront yourself, to ask, what is left when everything is taken? And that, my friend, is where the treasure lies. In the darkness of loss, you discover strength you didn't know you had. In the silence of betrayal, you learn discernment. In the pain of failure, you learn the precision of effort. These lessons do not arrive in comfort. They are forged in discomfort. And those who understand this rise above the masses. Think of the seed buried beneath the soil. It must first break apart to become the tree. Think of the diamond. It is only coal that has withstood unimaginable pressure. Think of the sword. It is not shaped in calm air, but in fire and hammer blows. And so it is with your character, your destiny, your legacy. They are formed by adversity. I have told you that I hope you'll find the help you need. But let me be clear, this is not a passive hope. It is not a wish cast into the wind. It is not the empty kind of hope that fades with the setting sun. No, my friend, this is the kind of hope that is rooted in faith, built upon the rock of experience, and lit by the fires of personal transformation. This is a believing hope. I say it again with conviction. I believe you will find the help you need, not because life is easy, not because fate will hand it to you on a silver platter, but because something within you, something powerful, something divine, has already begun to stir. You would not be hearing these words if you weren't meant to. You wouldn't feel this quickening in your chest, this tension between who you are and who you know you could become, unless life itself was preparing to rise up and meet you. I believe you will find it because you've already started to look for it. And once man starts to search, truly search, he sets into motion forces that have no choice but to respond. Life begins to rearrange. The right conversation, the right idea, the right test, yes, even the right obstacle, all begin to converge, not to stop you, but to sharpen you, to shape you into the kind of man who can receive the very thing he seeks. There is a rhythm to this universe, a divine timing. Some call it luck, others call it coincidence. But I have come to know it as synchronicity, the quiet orchestration of events that comes not when we demand it, but when we align with it. And you align with it when you believe, not just casually, but fiercely, that the help you need exists and that it is moving toward you even now. I have seen too many miracles disguised as ordinary moments to doubt it. I have seen broken men restored, not because they were stronger than their pain, but because they refused to give up hope. I have seen dreamers dismissed by the world, only to rise from obscurity because they believed in something greater, within themselves and beyond themselves. And I believe the same for you. I believe you are being prepared. I believe the right words will fall into your hands, the right mentor will cross your path, The right strength will rise up in you at the exact moment you feel you have none left. That is how life works when a man steps forward in faith, when he opens himself to be taught, to be guided, to be helped. You may not know where the help will come from. That's all right. The man who waits to see the entire staircase never takes the first step, and it is the first step that matters. That single, trembling, intentional step of belief. Yeah, because once you believe you will find it, you're no longer lost. You're just on your way.